One of the things you've been talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
You mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
Hey, so do you remember in The Lion King when everything was thriving and booming, absolutely amazing in the Pride Land under Mufasa? And then Scar decided to take Mufasa out so that he could steal the throne. And shortly after, it became a complete wasteland where they couldn't find food and they were miserable and hungry. I was just thinking about that today. And then there was that cackling hyena that was always behind Scar and super annoying.
We have to fight for our rights. This is no time to lay down. This is no time to be quiet. The Bible says there's a time for love and a time to hate, right? A time to pluck up and a time to root, right? A time for war and a time for peace. A time to speak and a time to stay silent. This is no time to stay silent. This is a time to speak up. This is a time, they have declared war. So now we have to repel what is an unjust government. We have to resist, right? The federal government is overreaching into our families, into our churches, and into our personal self-governance. And that is unacceptable. All authority is delegated from God. All of it. It is through scriptures. And any time that one area of government overreaches into another area of government, that is tyranny. No way to put it. There's no other way to say it. And so we have to inform ourselves. We have to arm ourselves. An armed citizenry has the power and has the authority to resist government. I say it's time for the great walkout. It's time. We have to show this country and our leaders who they work for. We the people. Right. They work for us. We're the government. Right. And so they have to answer to us. And that's simple. Right. So there are recourses. Some people are just they're gonna have to get uncomfortable.
All I'm querying is this.
Yes.
Is if you have an economic system in which pharmaceutical companies benefit hugely from medical emergencies, where a military-industrial complex benefits from war, where energy companies benefit from energy crises, you are going to generate states of perpetual crisis, where the interests of ordinary people separate from the interests of the elite.
You got a mugshot now of the president. I find it unnecessary, demeaning, ridiculous, and unlawful. And I'm not talking about the mugshot. I'm talking about the entire proceeding. But I am very pleased at the way the lawyers are starting to come together in the defense of this case. I'm very optimistic. Most of these lawyers representing these lawyers are Democrats or libertarians. And you know what they're angry about? The criminalization of the practice of law. So I think the Justice Department and the Fani Willises of the world have overstepped it and stepped right into a trap.
I think it's pretty un-American to go after the lawyer that's representing you. This is a fundamental constitutional right. How dare they try to take away the lawyers for people?
What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election.
I think he's right. If you're talking about election interference, the leading Republican candidate has got 91 charges, and everybody wants to try them in January. Meanwhile, Jack Smith is still sending out subpoenas.
It's just infuriating to watch because you see that, but and the means to the end is they want control over what you do. They do. So if you can take a fire in Maui and say, oh, this is climate change, and you want your family incinerated? You want your family? Well, then you better do what we say. Like, there's a reason they're doing it.
I know.
And the reason they're doing it is they want control over how you act. So if they can take a fire, which had to do with an atmospheric setup that had nothing to do with climate change, and they can turn it into climate change, well, then they can turn it into how to control how you act. And that's what's so infuriating about this. And the media, they'll just pick it up and run with it. Go put in Maui fire climate change. Climate change is a huge contributor to this. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And anybody who knows anything about the atmosphere knows that that's garbage. But what do? They'll roll along with it because that's the way the game is played now.
Running, yeah. It's no longer about Trump. This is about you, This is about me. This is about our freedom. This is about the next generation of Americans. This is about our republic and if we can keep it. And I will tell you right now, we're at the if you can keep it point. If we sit down in silence and we cave to the woke mob, we will lose our country.
Encourage people to think about this. It's not about belonging to a political party. This is a movement. And MAGA, Make America Great Again, it's not about your race. It's not about your sexual identity. It's not about your religion. It's not about anything. It's about putting America as the center and caring about our country and doing the right things for the American people, regardless of who you are, what you look like, how you've ever voted in the past. And that's what MAGA is all about, and that's what the Republican Party needs to be about.
Used as a trump card saying we need more mail-in ballots. Biden needs to stay home in his basement. The corporate media needs to campaign for him. How is he going to be the next president of the United States?
He's not going to be the president of the United States. Nobody has helped the Republicans as much as Biden in Hawaii.
Reality is, so long as he has a heartbeat, he could be on a respirator. He could be clinically incapacitated. Democrats would still vote for him.
Who's going to be on the Democratic ticket?
Joe Biden. Joe Biden, of course. Oh, no, sorry. Take that back.
Whoa.
Newsom. Whoa.
You know, there's a little loophole there. So as long as Biden is the nominee and then something happens to him or he steps down, the DNC can put in whoever they want.
It's going to be Newsom. Biden is not going to be the nominee. No. Something's going to happen. It's either going to be he'll declare himself 25. I have another theory that the deep state is going after Trump this hard so they can then say, well, now we got to go after Biden because fair is fair. No one's above the law. Biden has served his purpose. He's out. Kamala gets, I don't know what,
do you think Kamala's going to be there?
No, she'll get a SCOTUS or something. She'll get an appointment somewhere and Newsom is going to do it. Newsom's campaigning already.
So first, let me just address a question that is on everybody's mind at home tonight. Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage? I'll tell you, I'm not a politician.
Of a mill worker's son who dares to defy the odds. The hope of a skinny kid with a funny name who believes that America has a place for him too.
So who is Vivek Ramaswamy? The Obama plagiarizing Big Pharma CEO, who wrote a book less than a year ago in which he compared Trump to sore loser Stacey Abrams, said he respects Pence, and says that Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. A man who tweeted out, well said George Soros, and seemingly even parroted his rhetoric on open societies. A man who took money for his law school from a Soros fellowship, said he did it in a video defending himself, quote, when I didn't have the money.
When I didn't have the money and it was a merit scholarship.
Yet Fox News reported that he made millions of dollars that year and $1 million every year for a couple years prior, so he lied about that. A man who made a fortune off of a failed Alzheimer's drug, and a man who just last year wrote a Wall Street Journal op-ed in which he said, the most important step in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic was the distribution of vaccines. That's in 2022. So who is Big Pharma salesman Vivek? Well, he's whoever you want him to be, because just like Obama, he'll say whatever he has to say, even copying Obama, to tell the naive and foolish sheeple what they want to hear. Everyone's giving this guy softball interviews and weak debates. Vivek, if you want a real challenge, come on my channel. I don't buy your shtick at all.
This is not going to be a free ride. It's not going to be some instant amnesty. What's going to happen is you are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally. It's not something that is guaranteed or automatic. You've got to earn it. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration. But they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it.
It would level the playing field by holding employers accountable if they knowingly hire undocumented workers. It would modernize our legal immigration system so that we eliminate the backlog of family visas and make it easier to attract highly skilled entrepreneurs from beyond our borders. It would make sure that everybody plays by the same rules by providing a pathway to earn citizenship for those who are living in the shadows. A path that includes passing a background check and learning English and paying taxes and a penalty and getting in line behind everyone trying to come here the right way. Independent economists have said that if the Senate bill became law over the next 2 decades, our economy would grow by $1.4 trillion more, and it would reduce our deficits by $850 billion more.
Hey, yo, let me get 30, 45 seconds of your time just for a fresh thought. How should America handle its immigration, migration, asylum seekers crisis that we're all dealing with right now? Should we close the borders? Should we keep everything as is? Or should we create some sort of voucher system? Here's an example of what's going on. Since spring of 2022, New York City has received over 90,000 undocumented individuals into their city. The city is struggling to house these individuals, and it's forecasted to cost the city up to $12 billion within the next 2 to 3 years. So should America continue to allow immigrants into the country that we can't properly house, or should we shut down the borders until we can find out a solution? Let me know how you feel in the comments. Fresh thoughts. Peace.
If I was in charge of this country, if you got caught stabbing someone to death in broad daylight in London, your ass would be hung from Tower Bridge by your fucking neck. And the BBC One would broadcast it. We'd zoom in close up to your face as you cried your eyes out, sniveled like a little bitch. You think you're a fucking tough guy. See how tough you are, you're about to get fucking hung in public. And all those other wannabe gangsters can watch you fucking cry your eyes out as you march your stupid ass up there and get hung like a piece of shit. I'd leave you standing there. I'd leave you there fucking hanging for 2 weeks. Let your body decompose as ravens peck your fucking eyes out. You want to walk around and take lives from people? I will take your life publicly, right there on the fucking news for everyone to see. You stab somebody, you get fucking hung. Hung from Tower Bridge. And I guarantee that would make these little fucks think twice. Because right now, they don't think twice about taking someone's life. You go out here, you stab someone, you get caught, 20 years in jail, reduced to 10 for good behavior. The last 3 years on day release, 6, 7 years in jail. The last 3 years you're out. You're already 18. You're out by the time you're 25, running around again. Fucking that guy's gone forever. That family's ruined forever. And you're running around with a fucking knife thinking you're Rambo. I would fix this shit instantly. There would be the fucking corpses of these fuckers hanging from the bridge. And I guarantee after the first 4 or 5 are hung, after the first 4 or 5 have cried their eyes out on TV, the rest of these little pussies will think twice.
In 1913, President Nixon took America off of the gold standard. But money had to be backed by something, so they came up with an idea. Henry Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia and offered them military protection if they would agree to only sell petroleum in United States dollars. It's kind of like when the mob offers your business protection. I hear someone might want to burn your business down. This meant that most of the money in the world was now backed by oil, the petrodollar. And that's because in 1944, there was this meeting in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, where 44 countries agreed that the dollar would become the world reserve currency. So when other countries would print money, it would be ratioed based on how many dollars are in circulation. And this put the Federal Reserve Bank in charge of the world's monetary system, because they took control of printing American dollars in 1913 with the passage of the Federal Reserve Act. That's what my book, The Bear from Jekyll Island, is about. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, J.P. Morgan and family, they got together in 1910 and they wrote up the Federal Reserve Act. And with it, they got a monopoly over printing American dollars. But the crazy thing is, I have a degree in history and I wasn't taught any of this in school. It's almost like they don't want us to know. And that's why I wrote The Bear from Jekyll Island and the Cubs to Bears book series. Because we can make sure our kids understand this, whether the powers that be want them to or not. Cubs to Bears books. ClassicalLearner.com.
I heard a new term on TikTok today that made me stop in my tracks.
We are living in the silent depression.
This guy believes we are not just living in worse than the Great Depression, we're living in the silent depression. The average annual income in 1930 for an American individual was a little over $4,800. Sounds like nothing, but if you adjust that for inflation, a little over $4,800 a year in 1930 is equivalent to almost $85,000 annually for the average salary for one person. Right now, the average annual salary is $56,000 a year. We currently are making less than the height of the Great Depression. In 1930, gas was on average 10 cents a gallon. That would be about $1.73. In case you haven't filled up your car lately, average cost of a gallon of gas is $3.55. To buy a new car in 1930 would have been about $860. It's worth about 15 grand. The average cost of a new car today is $48,000. And of course, the most coveted aspect of the American dream, being able to buy a house in 1930 cost about $3,900, less than $70,000. I spend way too much time on Zillow, so maybe this isn't surprising to me, but the average price of a home in America today is $416,000. $100,000. How could we be living through worst cost of living and wages than 1930? And no politician, no media outlet, no one is talking about it.
That's Bidenomics. It's about growing an economy by strengthening the middle class.
Just imagine thinking that you can change the weather by eating fake meat, fake milk, and fake eggs. There's a deep state agenda going on that's manipulating the masses. Eggs, one ingredient. Meat, one ingredient. Raw milk, one ingredient. These are foods that we've eaten for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And yet, in recent times, we've been told that they're bad for us. Fake meat, fake milk, and fake eggs are apparently what's going to save the planet. These foods are faker than the Kardashians, and yet a lot of us are buying into it. If you want to live a long, healthy, and vital life, just do the opposite of what the government recommends.
Did you know that in the 1960s, they told everyone that oil was going to be gone in 10 years? In the 70s, another ice age was coming in 10 years. 80s, acid rain was going to destroy all of our crops in 10 years. In the 90s, the ozone layer was going to be destroyed in 10 years. And in 2000, they told us that ice caps were going to be gone in 10 years. So I don't know if it's just me, but I'm kind of sensing a theme here. It's just kind of coincidental that none of that actually happened. But we were taxed for all of it.
While these folks set out to destroy a presidential candidate and later a presidency, the fact is that they destroyed so much more, and that will be their ultimate legacy. One casualty is America's faith in our institution, and another casualty is the erosion of a justice system that is supposed to apply equally to all Americans, but that has been weaponized to protect the favored few elites, the Clintons, the Bidens, while targeting political enemies. That is the current legacy of the FBI and DOJ. Mr. Durham, here's my question. How long do you think that this country will survive?
Chairman, the time has expired. You can't ask a question.
A two-tier justice system that seeks to persecute people based on their political beliefs.
I don't think that things can go too much further with the view that law enforcement, particularly the FBI, the Department of Justice, runs a two-tiered system of justice. The nation can't stand under those circumstances.
I don't think many people at home realize, and I'm going to try and explain it as simply as possible, that once you get to a certain level of fame and wealth, the people who are in charge of the world want to also be in charge of you. Because once they're in charge of you, they can allow you to exist because you'll push their narratives. And for you to join their team, you have to sell your sanity. You have sanity inside of your mind. You're a sane person. You're a hardworking person. But you have to take that sanity out and sell it. They'll usually give you a large contract for X amount of million for whatever TV station or whatever company or whatever product. You have to take the sanity out of your brain, give them the sanity, and then you'll take the 20 million, and then you'll say, yeah, that is a girl with the balls hanging out of her dress. Put her in the girl prison. You're transphobic. And you have to just sell your sanity, and then you get to join their team. And once you join their team, you're part of the protected class. And the protected class is protected by basically every institution, but especially the media.
We stand in terms of an impeachment inquiry, Congressman. I mean, every day, another drip by drip by drip on all this information from the House Oversight Committee about money that the Biden family has taken in. I mean, these are allegations until we actually see some serious proof here, and we want to know what you're going to do about it.
Well, Maria, I know we talked about this last week. Americans are growing frustrated. We are in our in-district work month of August right now. I bumped into Speaker McCarthy at the airport in Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and he knows the importance of getting to the bottom of this. I believe, truly, the momentum is building, and we are going to have an impeachment inquiry. But we've got to do this the right way. James Comer, Jim Jordan are building the evidence, the case. I know Greg Steube has filed for articles of impeachment. But we've got to go through the proper committee process, get our ducks in a row to build confidence in the American people and to further have a chance of even having a conviction in the Senate. You know, indictment in the House of Representatives is no good unless we have a conviction in the Senate.
I'm out here on the streets, and yet again, the harm reduction team is out here passing out their bags of paraphernalia. I'm with one of the individuals that is frequent over there. What you got right here? What do they give you, bro? What is all this stuff?
They give you clean supplies so you don't have to reuse, and you don't have to use dirty shit over and over. You know, like they give you stuff so you don't have to reuse or share with other people.
And that all comes from this tent over here.
don't mind.
I'm just recording you guys, just seeing what you guys are passing out over here. I mean, you guys are passing out paraphernalia to addicts that are struggling. I just want to know why.
You have a good day. Oh, sorry, bill filters. What? Bill filters? Yeah. So, it's a really strong filter, so it really gets out all the stuff in there.
Why do you guys pass this stuff out in my neighborhood? Why don't you guys pass it out in somebody else's neighborhood? You guys pass it out in your neighborhood?
I mean, you can find pictures of them online holding up the NATO flag and the swastika at the same time. This is why Crimea wanted to be with Russia. Because Western Ukraine backed the Nazis. The CIA actually gave immunity from prosecution to the Nazis of Ukraine from the Nuremberg trials. These are the actual Nazis from the Second World War. When you know that the CIA sponsored the color revolution in Ukraine in 2013 and 14. This is as much interference here as you could possibly imagine. Before you even get to Hunter Biden, Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry, and Mitt Romney, and all of their children who are employed, who earn millions from Ukrainian gas companies. Zelensky was selected, like so many of our leaders, with big tech and with election fraud these days. We don't know how many leaders all around the world have been selected for us. Putin has been warning for 15 years that he is not going to stand by while the globalists take over the world, build bioweapons facilities. Ukraine has been a center of money laundering for many of the leaders in this country. Billions of US dollars have been laundered through Ukraine, and we say nothing about it. These are our tax dollars and all those corrupt people in the deep state. And you know what? It's not a conspiracy theory. It's an actual deep state. Look up the SES, the Senior Executive Service, because when that bureaucracy was ushered into law in the United States of America, that's when we got a bunch of unelected bureaucrats pulling the strings behind the scenes. And these are the people that keep lying to us.
Let's go back to Ohio, where we had the derailment and the chemical spill. 4,000 human beings living in this area. The water is still not fit to drink, as I understand it. We wouldn't even invest the money to move those people to a safer area, even if it meant temporary housing or permanent housing, until this thing was cleaned up. What have we done? This is the problem. It is America last on every level. The last people who are consulted, the last people who are benefiting from anything that goes on in Washington are Americans. This cannot go on. It's got to end.
I put my foot down, and then I make some love, I put my run down.
Now, in terms of the 97%, this is misleading and deceptive. There was a sociologist who did a survey of about 10,000 climate scientists. Now, I question the word scientist because these are people who are eminently unemployable, except if they're working in a climate institute or university or CSIRO or something. And he put a survey out to 10,000. 3,000 of them deemed to answer it. And he then chose 77 of the replies. And out of those 77, 76 said, yes, we humans are destroying the planet and cooking it up. One said no. And that's how you got the 97.1% figure.
And this was tweeted by Barack Obama.
Yes, and there is a lot in the literature, especially by a chap called David Legatis, who's a mathematician, who's just torn this apart. But you never hear that. You only hear that 97% figure. Now, I like that 97% figure because I would argue that 97% of scientists will agree with those who pay them.
So what I have in my hand is a memo that I wrote. I will not be accepting the 64% proposed salary increase as proposed by the Salary Commission. And furthermore, I did not want to affect retirement contributions, the ERS system, by accepting it and maybe donating parts of it. So I am requesting that my salary stay the same as it was prior to July 1st. So I said I was going to post it up, and I will give you a copy of this. Have a great day.
Rich men north of Richmond got me wondering why I'm not more mad, actually. Mad that I pay taxes on a home that I already own, paid for by a paycheck I already paid taxes on, that I fix with materials that I buy and pay more taxes on when I purchase them, taxes that essentially have me working from January to June for free. My dollars were 17 cents less than it was 2 years ago, but you don't reduce my taxes any. The government just burdens me. It's our problem to figure out where we're going to make up that other 17 cents. If I treated government the way they treated me, I'd be up to my eyeballs in fines and penalties. So yeah, that song resonates with me.
Bring it! What?
You rarely, if ever, really criticize Trump directly. I think part of that, and tell me if I'm wrong, is part of his strategy when it comes to winning over his voters. But how do you beat the Republican frontrunner in this race without directly engaging him?
Well, the truth is, the reason I don't want to criticize Trump is because everybody else from, networks like the one we're on right now on down are doing plenty good job of making up attacks that shouldn't even exist. Prosecutors across this country charging cases that should have never been brought. I think Donald Trump's defeat of Hillary Clinton was probably the single most important political event of my lifetime. So I don't care to pile on with those criticisms. I think he was a good president, but I want to build on his agenda to take the America First movement to the next level. The fact is, I'm 38 years old. I have fresh legs. I am able to reach young people across this country. And I believe I am the only candidate in this race who can actually deliver a landslide election.
Infiltration of the United States, the hijacking of the United States was essential to reach the point where we are today, again, where they are so close to reaching their goal of installing a society where we are basically stripped of our humanity. I would like to share a message to Klaus for him to tell his own masters that my name is Noor bin Laden. I am a human being, not a QR code. I don't want to eat the bugs. I don't want to live in the pod. I don't want to be trapped in a digital jail, and nothing they can do will make me. I want to keep my God-given freedom and my human dignity. They cannot take this away from me. And we will see the day where these people will be tried for their crimes against humanity.
And you're responsible for what they do. I've fired underperformers in the private sector. I'm going to do it for probably 75% of the people who work as federal bureaucrats in the government in Washington, D.C. They told Trump you couldn't do it because of the civil service protections. Well, read the law. The civil service protections apply to individual firings. They do not apply to mass layoffs. And mass layoffs are absolutely what I'm bringing to the D.C. bureaucracy. So that's my job.
I'm really imploring the people and all the peoples around the world, for God's sake, stop giving your democratically elected governments the benefit of the doubt. They are not deserving of that. They are not. Stop rationalizing whatever your government is doing. Stop rationalizing and come up with some good intentions. They have no good intentions. You cannot comply your way out of a tyranny. It is impossible. Trying to do so, you will only feed a gigantic alligator in the hopes of being eaten last. But guess what? Your turn will come, and then you will be the one swallowed up. I also have to ask the people, end your silence. Speak up. For God's sake, stop complying. Start rebelling. They're out to get you if you do not resist. In order to deal with this unfree world, to defy this unfree world, I have decided to become so absolutely free that my very existence is an act of...
...that covers the Antifa in the crowd, so can you put that back in? All right, thank you so much. Yep, it feels better. Did you guys get sprayed? Here. Take this orange bottle. Put your hand.
Man,
undercovers Antifa in the crowd. So can you put that back in?
Man,
undercovers Antifa in the crowd. So can you put that?
I'm really
undercovers Antifa in the crowd. So